tell us about your story, Ken. Where did it all start?
My biggest client probably does about 12 million turnover. My favourite client is someone with an idea to grow. Listen to people, preferably not the ones in the pub.
Hello, I'm Nicole, and this is The Big Chat. And today I am chatting to Ken Mathieson of Mathieson Associates. And we are going to be talking about all the ways that accountants such as Ken can help businesses such as mine and such as yours. Hello, Ken.
Hello, Nicole.
How are you?
I'm extremely well, thank you.
It's very good to see you today. I'm very excited to get you out to our little podcast studio here. Thank you very much for visiting us in person.
It's very nice to be out of the office.
Yes, I mean, there is that at the moment, isn't there? There is that being out of the office at the moment. Certainly, I'm used to seeing you at the office, but have you been working more remotely recently, Ken?
Yes, I'm working from home, certainly afternoons. I'm trying to go into the office in the mornings to have a change of environment, which helps me keep going, I think.
Yeah.
Just staying at home is really quite crippling.
A bit distracting as well. I think you've got a four-legged friend as well, haven't you, at home? Didn't you get a lockdown pet?
We have a border collie puppy, which perhaps wasn't the smartest choice.
But keeps you calm, I believe. Apparently that's what dogs are meant to do. I'm not so sure my dogs do that, as you know, anyone that's met them knows, but apparently it's quite good for self-soothing.
Forces me to go out for a walk in the mornings. I've never had a welcome like that when I get home. Certainly the wife and kids don't. So
so that's always nice. I've known you, Ken, now, oh my goodness me, it must be coming up for, dare I say it, 4 or 5 years?
I think you had just left school, Nick.
Thank you. You're too kind, sir. You're too kind. Tell me about your business. Tell me about how you got to be Ken Mathieson of Mathieson Associates. But how did you set up? Tell us about your story, Ken. Where did it all start?
Well, back in the 50s. I set this firm up because the last firm I set up wasn't working with the partners that I'd taken on. They didn't have the same way of dealing with clients as I do, so we weren't delivering a consistent service, and I just felt restricted by what was happening there and realised I was better off on my own again. At least, having complete control over everything.
Yeah. And you did that quite quickly, didn't you? Because actually I remember you were working, we've kind of known you through that transition. Certainly at Chatty Hatter here, we've known you through that transition. So, but you're a busy man. It's certainly kept you busy, hasn't it, setting up Mathieson Associates?
Yes, it kept me busy because I didn't take staff and services with me, so it all needed setting up again, which was a great place to start from because the world's moved on in the 15 years I was working with the last lot. So having a blank sheet, being able to choose the software, start with the right staff who had the skills for what is a very rapidly changing business environment was actually a terrific head start.
And what would you say? I mean, I know what I think about the answer to this question, but what would you say makes you different, Ken, to some other? I
mean, you're smiling like I'm going to say I swear a lot, but that's unfair. I think my difference and what I try to keep with my staff members is that we try to communicate more with clients than most accountants do. Most accountants, it's accounts, tax returns, and if they can sell you some other services, terrific. And then they'll get onto the personal stuff. But for me, if I don't know somebody what's going on personally, down to does their wife work, do they have children, and what's happening in the business, what do they want to achieve, then I'm not sure how I can advise fully. So if you're going to plan to retire in 5 years' time, I need to know that. And because of who I am, I will ask the question, it might seem nosy, it might seem pushy, but it's the way I need to work. I like that information because it might be there'll be something that comes out that is your son or daughter off to university in a few years' time. Can we do something to get some income out to them? So it really is about knowing my clients personally. And if I can't get to know them personally, I genuinely believe I'm not necessarily giving the best advice.
I think that's true. I think you're certainly, from when I first met you, I mean, I don't have a problem talking, but you certainly have a good way of getting information about people, like in a really you're very approachable like that. And I found that really interesting because you do feel like you're having a good conversation with someone that's really got your best interests at heart, which rather than it being, sometimes I think it can be quite a clinical process. And I think sometimes accountants get a bit of a hard rap that almost personality void, which you're certainly not, Ken, in any way, shape or form. So I think having dealt with you personally, that's definitely something that you do. And that does seem to be different to how other people approach it, doesn't it? Especially as we're in a busy world now.
I mean, obviously I can't talk for everybody. There are some very personable accountants out there, but our training very much is you need to do this, this and this. You know, why are you wasting your time finding out about all of this? Yes, a lot of what I find out might be irrelevant, but I can only determine that once I've found it out.
So with that in mind, how has this year been, Ken? How have you found this year? I mean, wow.
This year has been very challenging, partly because of the way I am, in that if somebody's got a problem, I do have an underlying desire to solve it, and that has worn a bit heavy because lots of people have got problems. Particularly, I mean, I have personal challenges with mum and a disabled sister, but so do lots of other people. And then you've got their businesses collapsing around them because it's really difficult to keep going for an awful lot of businesses, not just hospitality. You've got the offshoots, your printers. Now, lots of people are facing challenges and, you know, they need to be addressed. And, you know, I do bear the weight of that at times.
You are on the end of the phone if you need to be, you know, if I've ever needed to reach you for anything, you're always available, which is quite something actually, because you are, you know, like you say, having to deal with a lot at the moment, aren't you? Not just those challenges that we're all being presented with, but yeah, like you say, there's also emotional baggage with that as well, isn't there? That comes with that, with clients that you've dealt with like me for years and years, and it's trying to, you know, you're trying to find solutions for people, which is tough.
It is tough. The government keep changing things, which doesn't help, but they're trying to get it right. And clients need steering as to what they can use and what isn't appropriate for them. And we have to find what we can.
And what do you find has been the I mean, is there a kind of question that's kept coming up the most recently, or has it been really, because like you say, that things have changed, as I know as a business owner. So have there been particular things that have been coming up, or does it vary for company size? Or
yeah, so because a lot of people who have done things what I would describe as properly, paid themselves a small salary and a big dividend, have had nothing except for the opportunity to borrow money. Now, which
brilliant,
yeah,
genius.
Which, I mean, the bounce back loans are really helpful, but if it's all there's going to be, and we've got this lockdown, and if another one comes after this, all that's done is meant that the business is technically insolvent, and that comes with a whole set of issues for what you want to do in the future. Yeah, and you have to give people the advice that we need to be looking at the next step. If borrowing this money isn't going to be enough, you shouldn't be borrowing this money. And telling somebody that is hard. I've had to tell quite a few people they have to make a lot of staff they've known for years redundant, or have had to shut. Yeah. And it weighs on me, but I'm still going. They're the ones who have to shut.
And I think that's an important thing to highlight with certainly Mathieson Associates as well, is that you do that. You do offer a real advisory service to what you do. It's not just filing tax returns and looking at being the most cost-effective, efficient way of functioning as a business. You really do, I know we've had many conversations about the logistics of the people involved, like you say, you've mentioned there, people that might be having to unfortunately be made redundant, but you really do look at all those areas. I mean, that's a bit more than you would expect from your sort of independent financial accountant advisor, would it?
I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that at all. I have to recognise that your business is personal to you. Yeah. It's possibly something you dreamt about for years. It might be you set up because employment wasn't working for you, but it still will have grown into something that is precious to you. And every business deserves the respect of knowing that their accountant or other advisors understand that it is so important to them. Yeah. It's not just about money, is bottom line, particularly this year. And I mean, with that as well, so, you know, talking about obviously how you're helping other companies, how have you had help within community? You know, who's been helping you, Ken? Who's been helping you? Have you been getting help? You know, because you're a business as well, the same as all of us. So have you had support? How have you found it the last year? I mean, I have had support in the last year, and it's come from clients, because that's how I try to work. If a client has a problem or wants something, I try and get them to use another client. Yeah. And in this case, I was struggling with sleep, I was struggling with stress, and somebody you know well referred me to an acupuncturist who has helped me tremendously. Only she's been selfish enough to cancel an appointment tomorrow because of some pandemic or something she's been exposed to. All right, but this is the sort of problems we're all facing. Yes. So, you know, support has come from me, from family, from businesses. But most of my clients I'm close to understand I'm facing the same pressures they are. Yeah, yeah. So, you know, I mean, I like to think of my clients as a community. Yeah. And we do what we can for each other.
Yeah, and I think that is important. I think certainly locally within the town, we've certainly connected each other with a lot of people, and I think it is that community spirit that's so important. That's why we wanted to do this now, to talk to businesses like yourself and talk to other businesses and give them a bit of support. Has it always been your dream to be Ken Mathieson of Mathieson Associates? Is that how has your path led you here? Obviously, you talked about coming from a different environment, but did you kind of see yourself? I mean, clearly, did you see yourself sitting here today, Ken, talking to me? That's clearly a dream.
No, clearly what I plan to now is be a retired professional athlete, make an occasional TV appearances, commenting on athletes. But you take what the cards you're dealt.
And sport of choice would be cycling. You like cycling, don't you? Passed on to a bit of cycling, which is obviously very current at the moment.
Yes, cycling I enjoy, but athletics is my passion.
Is it?
Yeah, unfortunately, I just wasn't good enough.
So this was not quite the. You can watch the athletics though. You can observe and take it that way. What's been your high point of your career so far, Ken?
Obviously, the invite to come here and do this was right up there. But I mean, I wouldn't say I'd had any particular highlight, but any time I can help a business achieve what it's aiming to do. But having said that reminds me of one. I had someone wanting to retire, but it was about 15 years ago now, at a time when legislation was changing all over the place, and a plan just dropped into place whereby we were able to save them amazing amounts of tax, enough to be the difference between them fully retiring or getting another job. So I mean, there are achievements. Any time I get a thank you from a client, and I'm been getting a few recently, which is nice, is a highlight. Yeah. I don't need my bills paid to be a highlight. Obviously, it would be a low point if they weren't. But no, it's difficult to say a big highlight.
Would you say with the pandemic, I mean, in your career, I mean, obviously you're a very young man, Ken. In your career, would you say that this has been one of the lowest points, in your professional career? I mean, I know we've been through a recession. I know I don't look like I have, but I've been through a recession or two. But, would we say this is the lowest points in our career?
I wouldn't personally. Perhaps it's the most challenging, but it's not the lowest point, because with the government support at the moment, we're not getting massive fallout of businesses. I'm concerned that we're going to reach that point in 4, 5, 6 months.
Yeah.
But at the moment, no. I've been through periods when there were businesses going down all over the place, but partially because the world was different then, and it was easier to borrow large amounts of money on credit cards and other sources, so they were exposed much better. So now it's much more controlled, and I think that has helped businesses stay afloat.
Yeah.
But that can only last so long.
That can only last so long. And I mean, so your advice, I mean, certainly because I do, like you touched on earlier briefly, it has been hard for small business owners who have paid themselves a small salary and drawn dividends based on profits. And so, there hasn't been that support, like you say, unless they borrow the money. So that might put some people off, maybe starting a new business, or entrepreneurs might be finding it quite hard at the moment. And, business owners, entrepreneurs, what advice would you have to them at the moment, if they're not already speaking to you on a regular basis for your golden advice?
I mean, the advice for anyone setting up a new business has to be plan, and plan.
Yeah.
If you haven't got cash flow forecasts in place, if you haven't got a buffer of some sort, be it a loan or a parent who can assist if you get into trouble.
I love that, loan or a parent. Love that.
Well, I mean, parents are more and more important in this world.
Yes.
You've only got to look at buying a house.
Absolutely.
But setting up a business, it's as big a step as buying a house. So you just need to find that buffer. That buffer may just come in the form of, right, I've got orders for the next 6 months. I can find more. But you just need to make sure you have planned, and you're not just jumping in and getting on with it. That was something you could do in the 80s. It's not something you could do now.
And so you could really do that in the 80s? God, I would have loved the 80s.
Yeah.
You would have loved to have had me as a client in the 80s. I would have had some fun with that, Ken. But I mean, was it really like that in the 80s? It was really quite different, was it? Because there's a lot of people that's gone through that 80s and is now in their business.
Yeah, no, the mid 80s, there was much more money around. It was a very changing world in terms of opportunities, all right, and the way they were, and you could easily find a short-term win, and I don't think there are that many short-term wins around now, partly because of digital media, the internet. If there is an opportunity, people can find it that much quicker, which is, it's the sort of thing which I think has made trading on the stock market that much harder, because there is so much more information out there, which could be an opportunity. But personally, I think it is shut the door on a lot of quick wins, because it's much easier for people to, if you like, shut your door and get on with it themselves. So I'm not saying there aren't opportunities. There clearly are, and I probably haven't thought of them, and other people hopefully haven't thought of them. But you still need to make sure you have a real solid plan in place.
And it is planning. I've learnt that from being in your company over the last few years, that planning is, I'm great at planning other people's things for them and businesses, but it's always your own, isn't it? Sometimes that's the last one to get looked at, is your own, and planning is important. And like you say, that future planning. What about staff at the moment? Just to sort of talk about that briefly. Obviously at the moment, and I know we've had conversations about furlough, and that's coming up a lot, and you send out a lot of news to your clients, which is invaluable. I love it when I get my little Ken newsletter that gives me a breakdown with humour of what's going on at the moment, in bite-sized information that I can digest and understand, because a lot of it does sound like jargon to people like me. But what about taking people on at the moment, or not taking people on? I mean, that's got to be on a company basis, hasn't it? But I know there are people still taking people on, and there are people not taking people on. What do you think about that?
I mean, taking people on has become a little bit of a gamble, because the government support seems to be triggered by, were they employed at this specific date? And if you miss that date, then you could find yourself with an employee you've just taken on, so you clearly want them, but you've got no support for them during a period when you may have no work. But the truth is that there are a lot of people who've been made redundant, which means there are people with skills out there and available. So if you have the work, then please take them on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And take that risk. Your worst case is that you have to get rid of them quickly, but that will still have been a good thing for that person, because they know that they're still wanted, and have some uses for the future.
And what do you think you've learned through this? I mean, I know when we've had chats before, we've talked, I mean, obviously about mental health throughout this pandemic. It's put a strain on everybody. And I think it's highlighted to people that maybe didn't not value mental health issues before, but I think it's brought it to the forefront for everybody to address it and talk about it a bit more. But what else do you feel like's come out of this experience for you and business over the last few months, Ken?
I think the most important thing I've learned is that there are lots of sources of information that perhaps I haven't tapped into before, like Tunbridge Wells Borough Council website. Their business support site is actually really good. But they say, as I said earlier, the internet is a massive thing, and the wealth of information that is out there it's really helpful for me, because I can actually read that sort of stuff very quickly, because I have some underlying knowledge. And so there's an awful lot of information out there that can be useful. You may not know how to apply it yourselves, but phone me and say, look, I've seen this, is it of any use to us? Because quite honestly, I cannot read and see everything. So listen to people, preferably not the ones in the pub.
Well, we can't go in the pub at the moment.
That's true. But conversations had in pubs tend not to be useful ones.
Conversations in members' clubs, like the Big Chat Members Club, would be a fantastic conversation to have, obviously.
Because that's obviously a group of like-minded intellectual.
Absolute intellectual, I like that, intellectual.
And there would be no alcohol involved, or would there?
Well, I don't think that's been decided yet, but, certainly not at the moment. It certainly won't be me drinking it, Ken. So, if other people want a tipple, we might have stopped them.
I thought you told me we weren't supposed to lie on this.
Well, let's... anyway, moving on. With Mathieson Associates, I mean, for people out there that maybe don't know you, haven't heard of you, not sure about you before, then... I mean, really, what size companies? There's no company too small or too big, is there, Ken? I'm obviously a small to medium-sized business, so I'm just so people can get a feel for it. Because some people are a bit put off by things, aren't they? They think, he sounds like he looks after huge.
No, I mean, my favourite client is someone with an idea to grow. I took on a rather interesting firm of stonemasons the other day, just setting up on their own. They've got 3 employees coming with them, and they have a plan and an idea, but do not know about my side of things. So that is a terrific, interesting client. And I have my biggest client probably does about 12 million turnover. And that comes with a completely different set of challenges. Absolutely. So I like to have an interesting life, like most people. Variety is part of the interest, because different sized companies come with different sized challenges. Different types of challenges.
And people can come in and talk to you about that, can't they? Because I know I've done that with projects with colleagues of mine, where you can come in and say, look, we've got this idea, we're thinking about this, what are the parameters we're working to? What you know, that's something that you do as well, isn't it?
No, that's very much an interest. The more interesting side of my work is talking to clients about what they're doing and how they're going to do it in the future. You know, just preparing a set of accounts and tax returns, to be quite honest, you could go to somebody less skilled than myself and come up with roughly the same answer. Yeah. So I don't feel that I would be delivering particularly good value if that was all I did.
You're very good value. I can definitely vouch for that, Ken. But no, I think for me personally, it's nice to be able to talk to someone approachable who you feel has your back, is knowledgeable, is very smart and understands a lot of the stuff that I just don't understand. What does your future look like, Ken? What's your future looking like right now? How's it looking? I mean, not just today, you know, how's it looking for Mathieson Associates? What's your kind of vision and goals?
I mean, the truth is that this pandemic has proven to be a marketing opportunity for me, if you like. Sorry. Because I've been approached by people who are not getting advice, and companies have realised that they should be getting more out of their accountant than their tax returns and accounts prepared. Yeah. So there is an opportunity for me to grow. So exactly what that growth will look like, I have not shaped that yet, but there is definitely a chance for me to develop the business into something that can be more exciting.
And the best way to reach you, other than obviously when we're allowed to have live meetups at the Big Chat Members Club, what's the best way to meet you and speak to you? Check out Mathieson Associates, pick up the phone, ring Ken, and he's your man. And is there anything else you'd like to talk about today that really is a product or anything specific that's going on with you? I mean, I know you're so busy. I can't think that we haven't covered anything else.
No, I mean, my product is adjustable to what clients need, and I have support staff behind me, but they tend not to want to front things up. So I'm afraid, yes, my product difference is me, but the service that we provide is a team of people. They're knowledgeable, so if I'm not around, they'll answer your questions, and if I'm not around, I will respond as quickly as possible. I don't think I've ever taken more than a day to respond to a call. You're
I think very, very much in good hands, and I can personally vouch for that.
But in terms of a product, I change my products according to what people need.
Yeah.
That is I think is what I seek to do, is to find out what clients need. I don't want to have a product and say, look, use this. If I need to find a new product, like in the last, it's 8 months now since the first lockdown, doing furlough claims, telling people how to do furlough claims. I do like to say I educate clients.
Yeah.
I want clients to do more for themselves. I want them to understand their numbers. So is there a product I'd like to promote? I suppose you could call it education.
I need to do some of that, don't I? Less talking, more educating. Yes. But
clients need to understand what makes their businesses run, what their key performance indicators are, if you want to use some fancy words that don't really mean anything, but are in lots of books. Right? So I like to educate clients towards that. Can I say education is a product for an accountant? Probably not. It won't be listed on my website, but it is what I strive to achieve.
Yeah,
I want my clients to need me less, but I want them to know when they need me.
And I think that's certainly something I can relate to, because that's how we like to help businesses grow as well, is that they just get to a point where they actually don't need us. We actually don't want to be with them forever. We want them to go out and grow themselves. So I think that's why we've always recommended you to so many people. So, well, we're delighted to have you as, one of our members on the Big Chat Business Collaboration Members Club. And we can't wait to hear more from Ken and get more advice from him on all all sorts of things. But it's been lovely to talk to you today. And you've been very good. We haven't got too many bloopers going, so we'll save those for another session. But thank you so much for coming and having a chat with us, Ken.
Thank you, Nicole. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, always a pleasure, never a chore. All right, well, thank you on that final note. But it's been a pleasure to talk to Ken Mathieson and Mathieson Associates. And as Ken said, we can definitely just check him out, go to his website, phone him up, or contact us at Chatty Hatter and we'll put you across. So thank you for joining us today, and more from us soon.